Today we're going to do reducing fractions. And in order to excel in math, you will need a good penmanship, you will need a very sharp pencil, and graph paper. And just for a quick review, we're going to do some fraction addition. So in front of us, we got 2 8s plus 2 8s. And we know that denominators, the bottom numbers, they stay the same. So we just carry the 8 over right up here. And we only add the numerators. Numerators are the top number. So 2 plus 2 will equal 4. The answer is 4 8. Now 4 8 is something we will have to reduce. So there are many methods how you reduce fractions. This video will show you 3 methods. Method number 1 is where you reduce the fractions manually, kind of like in your head. And in order to do that, you have to find the greatest common divisor, the GCD, or the greatest common factor, GCF. We're basically finding the same numbers, but depends where you live. Who's your teacher? They might call it differently. Either the greatest common factor or the greatest common divisor. So when you have 4 8s, you have to find the divisor or the factors of the top number first, which is 4. So here are the common factors. We know that 2 is a factor of 4, and 4 is a factor of 4. Then we find the divisors or factors of number 8. And 2 is a factor or a divisor of 8. 4 is a factor or divisor of 8. And so is number 8. Now look at the 2 sets of numbers. What is the greatest number that is the same in both 4 and 8? And we know it's number 4. So 4 is the common factor or the common divisor. And so basically we take the top number, 4 divided by 4 equals 1. 8, the bottom number, 8 divided by 4 equals 2. So when we reduce 4 8s, the answer is half or 1/2. Method number 2 is a bit easier, and you use the multiplication table or the multiplication chart. If you have a cheap composition notebook, these run 20 cents, sometimes on back-to-school sales, and the back flap will have a multiplication chart. So when we look at this multiplication chart, since we are reducing 4 8s, we have to find 4 and 8 in the same column. So here we have a 4 and we have an 8, and this is column number 2. But then when we look at column number 4, we also see a 4 and an 8. And we have to get the greatest common factor or the divisor. So 4 is obviously greater, so we're going to use the 4 and 8 in column number 4. And when we draw arrows straight to the left, we get our answer, 1/2. Method number 3 is using the math reference chart. And if you don't have one, do buy one because they have a lot of useful info on it. And they have this multiplication table. And once again, since we are doing 4 8s, we are reducing 4 8s, we have to find 4 and 8 in each answer column. So in multiples of 2, we see a 4 and an 8. In multiples of 4, we also see a 4 and an 8. And since we have to use the greatest common divisor or factor, we're going to go with number 4. And when we take 4 8s divided by 4 4, the answer, once again, is half. 1 2. We got the answer circled here in yellow. Let's do 5/15. And once again, we're going to do method 1 where we are reducing the fractions manually. So we have to find the greatest common divisor, the GCD, or the greatest common factor, GCF. And when we take the divisors or factors of 5, we get a 1 and a 5. When we take the divisors or factors of 15, we get 1, 3, 5, and 15. The greatest common factor will be number 5. So, back to the problem. 5 divided by 5 will be 1. 15 divided by 5 will be 3. So here we're going to do method number 2, where we use the multiplication chart. And once again, since we're doing 5/15ths, we will find a 5 and a 15 in the same column. And there is only one column, the 5 column, where you see a 5 and a 15. When we draw the arrows straight across to the left, the answer is 1/3. So 5/15 reduces to 1/3. And here we have method number 3, where we use the math reference chart, the multiplication table. And what we have to do is we have to find a 5 and a 15 in the answer column. And since 5 and 15 are prime number, there's not a lot of them. And if you look at the multiples of 5, this is the only place where you are going to find a 5 and a 15 in the answer column. When we divide it by 5/5, the answer is 1/3. 1/3, so 1/3. Here we have 12/48. And once again, we're going to do it the method 1 where we reduce it manually. And so first thing we have to do is we got to find the common factors of 12 and 48. So the common factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. The common factors of 48 will be 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. And the greatest common divisor, and the greatest common factor will be 12. So then we take 12 divided by 12 will be 1. 48 divided by 12 is 4. So reducing 12/48 will be 1/4. Here we have 12/48. And once again, we're just going to do a multiplication chart. And you have to find a 12 and a 48 in the same column. So when we look at this multiplication chart, we see that column number 4 has a 12 and a 48. We see that column number 6 has a 12 and a 48. Also, column number 12 has a 12 and a 48. And we always find the greatest common divisor or the factor. In this case, it will be 12. So when we draw the line straight to the left, we get the answer 1/4. Here's another example where we have 3/9. And we're going to do method 1, finding the common factor, and we're just going to do it manually. So once again, the common factors or the common divisors of 3 is 1 and 3. The common factors of 9 is 1, 3, and 9. And the greatest common divisor, the greatest common factor of both of these is the number 3. So back to our fraction, 3 divided by 3 will be 1. 9 divided by 3 will be 3. So the answer is 1/3. Here we have 12/15. Once again, we list the common factors of 12 and 15. And the common factors of 12 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. The common factors of 15 is 1, 3, 5, and 15. So, which is the greatest factor? The common factor of both of these is the number 3. Back to our fraction, 12 divided by 3 equals 4. 15 divided by 3 equals 5. The answer is 4/5.